Good morning, class. My name is Elon, and I am here on behalf of the One-to-One movement. We are an organization of educators dedicated to spreading awareness on topics of sustainability and conservation. Both are vital elements to preserving and continuously enjoying the world we know and love. I'd like to take a moment here to pass out a few objects of interest from a local estuary. See if you can identify what it is or who it's from. So now let's dive right in to discovering San Diego's estuary. Where the land meets the sea, we find diversity. Estuaries are semi-enclosed bodies of water that maintain a mixture of salt water from the oceans and fresh water from upstream. The combination is known as brackish water, and this creates a unique living environment for thousands of amazing species in San Diego. Estuaries provide places for fish and frogs to lay their eggs, and a resting spot for hundreds of migratory birds each season. They actually have many contributions that they are able to provide, and this is such as that they are the most productive biome on the earth, creating more organic matter each year than comparably sized areas of forest, grassland, and yes, even agricultural land. This primary production allows for all sorts of species to feed or find habitat within these ecosystems. The roots and vegetation also act to dissipate stream energy, resulting in less soil erosion and reduce damage in times of flooding. Additionally, estuaries act as filters. As the water flows through the wetlands, much of the sediment and pollutants are filtered out by the organic matter. This creates cleaner and clearer water, which benefits both people and the marine life that lives within these estuaries. So let's check out a few of the local inhabitants and take a closer look. We'll go ahead and start with the great egret. They grow up to 39 inches tall and have a yellow bill with black legs and beautiful white plumage. They became the symbol of the National Audubon Society for this beautiful look that they have, and this is one of our first conservation societies. They nest in colonies and are commonly found in San Diego estuaries, and you can see that they have these long arching necks and long feet characteristic of the egrets. The way they hunt is they stand in shallow waters of the lagoon and step very carefully or stand as calm as a statue looking for fish swimming by. When the fish swim near their legs, their neck suddenly jerks forward like a whip, whoosh, and they spear their fish with their beak. Now if you take a closer look, you might even be able to find the California tree frog or California chorus frog. Their appearance is gray or brown with dark blotches, tending to match the habitat for camouflage. Seldom seen, these animals are nocturnal, and in spring and summer they spend their time near the streams, and when the precipitation is higher in fall, they move to higher up into land. They prey on insects such as flies, spiders, and centipedes, and as you may know, they're able to use their long, sticky tongues to capture their food, whipping out and sticking to their food and bringing it to their mouth. And at night they can be heard in a large chorus. So just listen near the streams and you'll almost always hear them at night because they're very common here in San Diego. One of our local plants here is the bulrush. Now this plant is commonly found near stream beds and estuaries, and this plant has been used by Native Americans for weaving baskets, mats, rooftops, and hammocks. The dense root system provides excellent covering for fish. Very prevalent around these areas as well as the saltgrass. And if you take a closer look, this plant reaches about 8 to 12 inches tall, and it's able to excrete the salt through its leaves. So it brings it up through the root system and pushes it out through the leaves where it forms crystalline structures. And you can definitely see and taste these if you want, I suppose. Now the snowy egret. They grow about 24 inches tall. They have a black bill with bright yellow feet, and their feet are the best way to distinguish between the two egrets as they hunt and roost in the same areas. Both nest in coastal areas, foothills, inland valleys, and they're commonly found in San Diego estuary. These animals make a rather unfortunate noise, sort of like a wah, wah, wah. Anyway, they're clearly not a songbird, and neither am I. So, another amazing species, which may be found pretty close to them in proximity. Here we have the great blue heron. It is the largest of the herons, and they can grow up to 48 inches tall with a 6-foot wingspan, almost as wide as I am tall. So the adults are mostly bluish gray in complexion, with their crown black striped with a white center. As adolescents, their crown is all black, not quite as pretty. These birds can hunt day or night, and they have decent night vision. The oldest one on record was 24 years, and they have quite an awful squawk, sort of like a deep again, not a songbird, and I'm sorry if anyone was offended by my interpretation. Taking a little closer look again, we have the pickleweed. Now, the stems are sort of bumpy and look almost like a succulent, and the way they expel salt from the salt marshes is that they actually push it towards the tip of the plant leaves, which then turn red, and eventually these fall off. Now, although I don't recommend it, it does taste like an old salty potato chip, and the Native Americans used to eat it. Also, they used to eat the mullet fish, a little more delectable. Now, these are commonly found leaping out of lagoon waters, and the mullet fish are truly a sight to see. And yes, the egrets and herons do eat these guys. They are identified by the presence of two dorsal fins on their back and a small triangular mouth. The fish is vegetarian, so it feeds on detritus, which is dead plant matter, and they make a sound like their own name. Mullet. Mullet. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I don't think they talk like that, but it's how I like to think that they communicate. Another interesting plant. Next we have the salty dodder. This is a yellow or orange in tint and kind of grows in these wispy string-like structures. And this is a parasitic plant, so it feeds off the water of its host. And it is a native plant too, so don't go picking them out just because they're parasitic. The seeds simply fall on the ground, and so the way they're transported is by water downstream or by animals passing through. And the Native Americans used to pretty much squeeze these out and extract them to make yellow dyes for fabrics and such. Moving back into our streams, we see the common mallard. The males have a very distinct bright metallic green head and yellow bill, while females are mostly brown with an orange bill. Only females make the quacking noise associated with the common duck sound. Would anyone like to care to demonstrate? Alright, so as the females make the quacking noise, the males make a softer sort of raspy noise. So it's a quack quack compared to the males who would be more like rap, 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 rap. Anyway, so now you've met a few really interesting species here in our local San Diego estuaries and should be able to identify them next time you see them. So now, it's time for an activity! So now that we have gone through and learned about what these estuaries are, how they function, and several interesting species that call these wetlands home, let's get our minds going a little bit more. Something that can help your brains get stimulated and the blood flowing. So what we're going to do is something I like to call a day in lagoon life. So break up into about 6 or 7 teams. For the sake of time, I'm going to bundle you up myself. All you here, for example, you're a team, you guys are a team, yada yada. Okay, now that everyone is nice and comfortable with your group, you will be assigned an animal that resides in one of our San Diego estuaries. The purpose of this game is to use your mind's eye and imagine yourself in the shoes / flippers / talons of the animal you were given. Talk with your group members and come up with what you guys think a typical day in the life would be for your animal. And if there's another animal you know lives in the estuary, feel free to ask me, and you guys can certainly do that as well. So ask questions like, when would the day start? How would you start your day? Are you alone or amongst others of the same species? Different species? What are your favorite things to eat? How do you enjoy yourself? These are all questions you can ask to help come up with a day in the life of your animal. Make sure to assign a scribe or person to write down the narrative and have it be in first person using I. Once your group decides on the events of the day, have your scribe write them down, and then when it comes time, another group member will read or dictate or act out the animal's day out loud. Hand motions and squawking bird calls, as you heard earlier, are strongly encouraged. Ready, go! So we'll give you guys about 5 minutes, and we'll make an announcement to sort of wrap things up by the 10th minute so you can start presenting your animals. Everyone gets a nice little laugh. Everyone gets to move around and think about these species. And then we'll eventually move on to the ending statements. Again, if you have any questions about the animals or what they may be doing, I can give you hints to help your narrative. So tell us about. Again, I'm strongly hoping people act out the herons walking around or flying around. We'll see how that works out. So, the estuaries of our coastline are part of really what makes San Diego a beautiful place to live for all its inhabitants. As you drive up and down the coast, you can see the beautiful expanse of lagoons pouring out to the open ocean. And a beautiful time to check it out is during sunset. But unfortunately, within 100 years, 80% of California coastal wetlands have been destroyed by development. Rivers are dammed or channeled as irrigations, and once healthy ecosystems have been paved over. These remaining preserves are sensitive and can be damaged by runoff from agricultural lands and urban settings. Species can be harmed by indisposed trash and waste. Part of the problem is people not understanding the importance and majesty of these wetlands. Fortunately, you all know how great these ecosystems are, and there are many ways you can preserve and protect what's left. Can you think of some ways that you personally can help our estuaries? So, additionally to what you guys came up with as a list, you could visit coastal preserves such as San Elijo Lagoon and Bataquitos Lagoon, and just showing your support really helps these places out and knowing that they're vital. Do not use or dispose of toxic chemicals down the drains. Consider using vinegar instead of bleach, for example, to clean your surfaces. Don't use fertilizers or pesticides on your grass and gardens back home, as it contributes to urban runoff. Clean up after your dog when walking on trails. No, they're not native inhabitants of the estuaries. Recycle all waste and perhaps pick a few pieces of trash others have left behind. Buy organic fruits and vegetables to reduce agricultural runoff that contains heavy pesticides and heavy fertilizers. Or even volunteer at one of the state parks, just giving your time to them. And they may send you out picking weeds or helping out with the interpretive centers and whatnot, but certainly a good joy that can be found by volunteering there. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask now, but I really want to thank you for your time. It has been a true pleasure to present this material to this class. And again, you can find more information about the one-to-one movement at one-to-one-movement.org or any of the social media platforms that we're using. And if you have any questions or need further information on estuaries or ways to help out with sustainability or conservation, please email me at alon@one-to-one-movement.org. Thank you again. Bye.